Koluka solo by Tito. Okay. And we're just going to go ahead and jump right into it. In the beginning, when God made heavens and earth like one house, the shadow that came forth, that came from the bodies of the world, darkened those that was within it. The shadow was swallowed up as nothing by the light that came forth according to the will of God. Then when the darkness was reckoned to be night, the light was called day. In the midst of the waters that were inside, he stretched out the firmament. Solid waters made something like a petition and called it the heavens. So through the oldest name, he conferred honor on them, that at the moment he divided this entire stretched out globe, which had been one house, into two regions. This was the cause of its division, in order that the upper region might be an abode for the angels, and the lower might be apportioned to humans. Through the will of the director, the waters that had remained below were left for the chasms of the earth and were gathered together. Thus, dry land became visible, and the convocations of the waters was called the seas. And the earth became visible, brought forth plants, and it made manifest springs in the course of the rivers and the mountains in their boundaries, so that there might be a suitable dwelling place for those humans who are about to come. In this way, each of them will be able to make these make them whatever he should desire to be. I mean, either good or bad. After those things, he adorned the heavens with stars. He made the sun and the moon in order that they might give forth light, one during the night and the other during the day. And also point out that these things are those things that are to come, those things that are temporal, and things that are eternal. Then for this reason, they also served as signs of both times and seasons. They are seen by all, but they are comprehended by the diligent. Then he commanded that living things issue forth from the earth and the water, and he made the paradise that he called the place of delicacies. After those things he made the human, the one on an account of whom he had previously prepared all these things, whose form is older, and on account of whom everything received existence by grace, which things came into existence and were assigned for his service and his habitation. When therefore everything that is in the heavens, the earth, and the waters were complete, humans also increased. And the 8th generation arose. Righteous men who had been living like angels rejected their previous manner of life, owing to the beauty of women, and indiscriminately had intercourse. Okay. So that's when things got wild. And it says also, This was about the time that the giants came on the earth. Okay. So the Most High made everything according to his will. The designation of man, that he may be on earth, and the heavens, that the angels may have a dwelling place, separated by the water, serving as a petition, which we call the sky. Okay. But something happened. Something happened that, the world had to start all over. In the book of Enoch, we're going to read chapter 3. We read chapter 2 last week, and this week we're going to read chapter 2. Chapter 3. I'm sorry, because at this point, about the ninth generation, things get kind of crazy. Now, people have two different stories about this situation. Some people believe that it was righteous men that went bad, but there were already bad men on the earth, the sons of Cain. In fact, Cain was the first murderer, right? So you already had bad people on the earth. Let's read Genesis chapter 4, verses 8. Okay. And it reads, and Cain talked with Abel his brother, and it came to pass when they were in the field, that Cain rose up against his brother and slew him. Okay. Cain rose up against his brother, and blow that up a little bit. And Cain talked with his brother, and Cain talked with Abel his brother, and it came to pass when they were in the field that Cain rose up against Abel his brother and slew him. And the Lord said unto Cain, where is Abel thy brother? He said, I know not, am I brother's keepers? And he said, what hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me from the ground. So it was already from the seed of Cain, evil was already in the earth. We have it passed down that as a result of the sin, the very first sin, a spirit came into the earth. You know what I'm saying? And that spirit was transferred over to Cain. And this was why he have the meaning, the name of his meaning is possession. But now in the Strong Concordance, it doesn't show that. But this is the definition passed down from ancient time. The Cain name means possession. Okay. The Strong Concordance says his name means a weapon or something like that, to strike or something like that, But they said what we have passed down is that his name means possession, right? Or envy, between one of the two. So Cain was possessed by this spirit that was passed on to him. The rebellious feminine spirit. Now, when you look up Cain at the root, it does says he has a feminine. Let me look it up. Let me show you. Going to the Strong Concordance of Cain. Okay, I'm gonna go to the root. Okay, this is where it says a lance, a spear. When we're going to the final one, it says lament, mourning woman. a mourning woman to strike a musical note, that is, chant or wail, lament a mourning woman. Now, it's funny because that's what the Strong Concordance has about Cain. However, what we got passed down is that Abel's name means mourning. You know what I'm saying? Because he mourns for the righteous, right? So, I don't take the Strong Concordance word at everything. I first take what we have passed down from ancient times first, and then I will look at the definition of the Strong Concordance because I'm thinking they're using some reference material that was available to them, and so Cain name means possession. He was the first one that brought murder into the world. Okay, being envious, because that's what's the reason why he killed Abel. He was envious, and it wasn't about the sacrifice. You know what I'm saying? I think that story, what we have, is being convoluted. It was actually Abel who offered up the peaceful fruit offering, and Cain, you know what I'm saying, slew the animal. But let's go down. My point was that evil was already in the earth. We go down to verse 19. You see, let's read it. And Lamech took unto him 2 wives. The name of the one was Ada, and the name of the other Zillah. So 2 wives. Okay, so that was the first time that adultery got brung onto the scene. You know what I'm saying? And if you read the Chronicles of Jeremiah, he adds a whole nother element to it, is that he had to make a sacrifice in order for him to be able to get the second wife. It's a whole nother dimension to the story. That he had to do a sacrifice, so he went and killed somebody and made that agreement in order to be able to get a second wife. He made an agreement with the devil. Okay, but the point of it was that evil was already in the earth. You know what I'm saying? Through the sons of Cain, right? So at this point in the 9th generation, everything was, wild and out and all of this. And what we have passed down, like I said, there's 2 different versions. It's a version that says that it was righteous men that sinned. And then we have another version that says that the angels came down from heaven, that they got permission from the Most High to correct men for the sins that they was doing. And them being made of a more godly nature, they was able to transform themselves into anything. Okay, first they would transform themselves to things like, the things that they were stealing, gold, metal, precious metals, or some things, I don't know if it was necessarily gold because they hadn't found gold yet, but there was transfers. There was transform into different things or whatever that people were stealing. I can't think of what they were at this time, but and so after correcting them into action, busting them into action, and then they would transform into their human form and, try to tell them, hey, you ain't got to do this and whatnot. It so happens that when they got, transferred into their human form, they began to lust after women. Okay. And when they began to lust after women, they was not able to go back to heaven. They could not transform themselves back into their angelic form once they began to lust after women, because the lust weighed them down. Now, this is important to know because, it signifies that the commandments is from the beginning, and the commandments extend not only to men, but also to the angels in heaven. You know what I'm saying? Not to lust, and as Jesus, the Messiah says that Even if you look on a woman to lust, you've already committed adultery. So that was a commandment from the beginning. Okay. So, but my point is, there's a reason why I'm going here. To establish the history of a certain thing that is prevailing amongst people today, and they don't know the origin of it. You know what I'm saying? And so when they read about this transgression, they have an ideal of it that's convoluted with the scriptures. You know what I'm saying? But unless you go back into the history, then and only then will you be able to understand the nature of this particular transgression. And you may figure it out what it is as we go on. Okay, so I'm going to start reading Enoch chapter 3. All right. Angels came down, right? Now this is where we are in chapter 3. And the story picks up in the KJV at chapter 6. So it's the same story, right? And it goes like this. And it came to pass when the children of men had multiplied, that in those days were born unto them beautiful and comely daughters, right? Now we had just read where, the righteous men started, having more sex and stuff like that and everything. So they started multiplying in those days, right? And there was a lot of things going on too, and a lot of stealing, and we already know murder had already been in the earth. A couple of people had been killed already. Fornication and adultery was on the earth because Lamech had 2 wives. So, verse 2. And the angels, the children of heaven, saw and lusted after them, and said one to another, Come, let us choose us wives from among the children of men, and begat us children. Okay. Now this is the version. This version said that the angels said amongst themselves, let's just go down there and, pick us some women and just go have some children by them. Now what we have passed down from the apostles is that they came down with the intent to correct men and then begin to lust after them. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to skip past part of it, and I'm going to start at 7 because this part, is all in agreement from verse 7. Okay. It says, now I'll start with verse 5. Then swear they all together and bound themselves by mutual imprecations upon it. And they were in all 200 who descended in the days of Jared on the Mount of Hermon. And they called it Mount Hermon because they had sworn and bound themselves by mutual imprecations upon it. These are the names of their leaders: Samlazaz, and okay, I'm not gonna go through the names. And all others together with them took unto them wives, and each chose for himself one, and they began to go unto them and devoured themselves with them. And they taught them charms and enchantments and the cutting of roots, and made them acquainted with plants. And they became pregnant, and they bare great giants, whose height 3,000 ells, who consumed all the acquisitions of men. And when men could no longer sustain them, the giants turned against them and devoured mankind. And they began to sin against the birds, the beasts, and reptiles, and fish, and to devour one another's flesh and drink the blood. Then the earth laid accusations against the lawless ones. Okay. And so we have here the history of when they began to eat animals. Not only did they begin to eat animals, but when the animals fell short, you know what I'm saying? Because they was eating so many of the mugs, you know, they started eating people too. You know what I'm saying? Because people is only like one step away from that of animals. So, you know, they couldn't be satisfied with the things of the earth. They couldn't be satisfied with the fruits, with the vegetables, because for one, it wasn't made for them. You know what I'm saying? The earth was made for humans. So they couldn't be satisfied with them, with any of that. You know, and the Most High tried to rain down on them. He tried to rain down on them manna. And even that couldn't satisfy them. So, you know, it was so much godliness, as we pick up here in verse 12. There arose much godlessness, and they committed fornication, and they were led astray, and they became corrupt in all their ways. Right? And as men perished, they cried, and their cry went up to heaven. Okay. And so, you know, it was so bad, you know, the Most High brung up, it was then a flood came upon the earth. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, there was only one righteous man during that time. It was Noah. Noah took his 3 sons upon the ark. And so the world was flooded. And the earth started all over again from Noah and his 3 sons and their wives. Okay. But Noah had been a righteous man. All the righteous laws have been passed down to him from Adam, all the way from Adam through the righteous line of Seth. You know what I'm saying? All the way to Adam. So he had the righteous law with him. Okay. So the law that, you know, Genesis 1:29, all of that, it was with Noah. So the idea that Noah, or, you know, came off the boat, sacrificing and all of that, just not true. And I'm gonna explain a little bit more of that, you know what I'm saying? But the point of the matter is, this was the history, the beginning of the eating of the animals, okay? So when the flood came, and it did come, everything perished. However, the giants being made of a different sort, you know what I'm saying, their spirit remained, you know. Their fathers, the fallen ones, they were chained up. Okay, so they was chained up in some lower parts, whatever, and the flesh of the giants perished, but their spirits remained. And so the Most High allowed them, you know, to roam the earth with some stipulations. Okay. And the stipulations is sort of like follow in this manner. That unless man gives himself over to them, unless they partake in the table of death, let's see, if they give themselves over to them, unless they partake in their table, of course, that's the table of death, unless they willingly submit themselves over to them, that they could not bother men. Okay. And so these were the conditions that would put upon the evil spirits. All right. And since men don't know these things, you know what I'm saying, that they do things that allow them to, that allows them to be injured or tortured or possessed by these demons because they don't know, they're not aware of this rule. Okay. But those seekers of truth, those who've been seeking the truth, you know now. You know what I'm saying? And this is the history of the eating of animals. After the flood, wasn't nobody eating animals at first. However, there was some writings discovered by one of Noah's grandsons, and there was some writings left by the giants. Okay, and upon the death of Noah, this son began to practice those things that were written, and this was the beginning of the killing of animals again to the spirits. You know what I'm saying? The evil spirits who were the giants. Okay. And as a reward for it, they gave him a kingdom. Okay. But he was ultimately killed, you know what I'm saying, struck down. And men began to worship that spirit that was struck down, thinking that it was some sign, you know. But this is the history and the beginning of the animal sacrifices. All right. And then, you know, once they killed those animals and dedicated to these spirits, they began to eat the animals. They began to eat them. You know what I'm saying? And it restarted the things that was happening before the advent of the flood. Okay. And this is what they call in the scriptures, eating things sacrificed to idols. Right. So we know idols is not real. So what you're sacrificing to is those evil spirits. You know what I'm saying? That was the thing that Noah's grandson began to do after the flood. It wasn't Noah. Noah never killed any animals. You know what I'm saying? That was the righteous seed. But this is the history, how that thing started. Okay. And since people don't know it, they participate in this activity, and, you know, the law is still is in effect. You know what I'm saying? They're allowed to, you know, injure you, possess you, all these things when you partake in that table. All right. So I don't know how long I've been. I'm not going to hold y'all long today, but I wanted to bring that forward because, you know, this ain't my first time saying this, but I'm trying to do this in the order as it should be presented. You know what I'm saying? So that the learning curve is not that we started in the middle, you know what I'm saying, but started at the beginning and got the whole story. And once you got the whole story, you can now make a good choice, or better yet, have the right reasons in your mind to do the right thing, because you know the history and you know what it means, rather than just somebody just telling you what to do. Right? So that's all I got for today. I'll just keep it real brief because we're going to go into some more stuff later on. But for those of you that have the peace within you to receive the truth, to you I say, peace and grace. Join me this weekend as we go into the details of the territory of Japheth, also called in the Hebrew, Topal or Topal. right? So we're going to go through that on Friday, giving the details. I mean, I've already drawn it out, you know what I'm saying, in the Jubilee series, but now I'm going to go into more detailed, draw it out on the map and all of that, so it looks a lot more clearer, showcasing some of the names, the Hebrew names, and everything, show where everybody was, and this ought to help distinguish what I'm saying as to be as to be true, because these were the people in those lands. You know what I'm saying? Even like, you know, you can find them there, and it's like historical records of them being there. So I mean, that changes everything. You know what I'm saying? At first, when you don't got the real names, you never really know. You know what I'm saying? Like, who is these people? That part has been killing me. Like, who is these people? Like, where are these? I can't find none of these people in the historical books. But with some of the names, you can definitely see where everybody was. And I think that needs to be clarified, so people won't believe, oh, this is Egypt over here, or you know what I'm saying, this is Israel over here, and this is just a bunch of confusion, you know. But it was all painted out very, very, it was all painted out in the book of Jubilees. You know what I'm saying? Bless the Most High for allowing me to understand that code, and being able to bring it forth. Right? And so hopefully I'll see you this weekend, and you'll join me on the next one. Until then, I say peace and grace.